No need lah. I don't need to read
Okay.
everything.
All right, we're live now.
Hello.
Hi.
I haven't introduced them. They're so anxious to meet all of you. Okay. Good evening, everybody. 5:30 p.m. on a Friday evening in Kuala Lumpur. And once again, you're on the Sheila Exchange, listening to me, Sheila Singham, talking to three very well-known representatives of the Serani community today. And if you're wondering why I'm dressed up in party mode today, because wherever 2 or 3 or more Serani get together, it's called a party, right?
Yes.
Indeed. Party on.
So who are the Serani? Now, many people use the term Serani interchangeably with the word Eurasian, but is it exactly the same thing? We'll find out soon. And how has the community kept its traditions alive for centuries without getting diluted? How has it evolved to keep up with the changes that it faces? So, and how, even though a minority group, it has produced so many illustrious sons and daughters that have contributed to so many areas of life and sports, education, administration, the armed forces, the culinary arts. We've got 2 experts in the culinary arts here, and Vernon, who is...
Vernon cooks?
No. Vernon's the expert.
Because
okay?
I'm definitely not the expert. It's Auntie Melba.
I know, you're the cake expert. So let me introduce them. They are, as you can see, very feisty already, right? Okay, so here I have Vernon Adrian Emuang. Make sure you don't forget the middle name when you are speaking to him. Vernon Adrian Emuang. He is a multicultural hyphenate, earning a living in communications related and other activities. You want to know the other privately, okay? Aside. He has co-founded a virtual community called Serani Sembang, Eurasian Families of Southeast Asia, with a global presence spanning the globe. And today, Serani Sembang on Clubhouse ignites heartfelt conversations about identity and heritage. And that, hi, Vernon.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
A pleasure. And then we have Chef Melba Nunis, who has taken Christian cuisine around the world. I've eaten at her table, and my God, I was so stuffed and so replete, I had to go and lie on the couch after that. She was born and raised in a Christian community in Malacca, and as I said, has introduced the community's unique culinary tradition to the rest of the world. She opened her restaurant, Simply Meals, in KL 10 years ago. Those of you who've been there, this is the lady behind it. And she moved on to become the celebrity chef of Melba at the Mansions at the Majestic Malacca 6 years later. She has written books on Christian cuisine and presented her dishes at international events, including the prestigious Culinary Institute of America. Now that's something. Yeah. Hi, Chef. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
And the third guest is no stranger to lovers of desserts from Just Heavenly, a co-founder and chief inspiration officer of the aptly named purveyor of celestial sweets. Nigel Skelchy has been in the business for a quarter of a century. Yeah, he's not as young as he looks, okay?
The archangel himself.
Yeah, of desserts. He has his own YouTube channel, Nigel's Joys, to share his experiences and inspire people and bring joy both to himself and to others. Welcome, Nigel. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
Thank you for being here. And I must thank Lai Lin Fong and Fong Lai Lin for being otherwise known. We talk about names later, for introducing, bringing you all together on this platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this party started. Okay. So, first question. Most people know the meaning of the term Eurasian as being a mixed race of people with Asian and Caucasian blood in their veins. So how different is this from the term Serani? Maybe Vernon, you could enlighten us.
Okay, thank you so much for asking that question, because it is a question that has, it is a question that has, in a sense, it is a question that has occupied me for the last 20 over years. This is because I realized that Eurasian was a basic identity categorization that was created by the British when they came here. And before that, our mixed race community, which started 500 years, which is like 300 plus years earlier, were known as Serani. So I came up with a website called Serani Sembang because it was a website to cater to Eurasians of this region looking for ancestral links. And Serani Sembang was used as its identity, as its brand name. After which many people are asking me, why are you using the Malay word for Eurasian? And then I thought about it and decided, no, it's not the Malay word for Eurasian. Serani to Eurasian is like what Hakka is to Chinese. That when you say Serani, you're saying a type of Eurasian who came from this part of the world and who has a very specific kind of cultural identity and lifestyle practices, very unique to themselves. So Serani does not negate Eurasian. Serani actually puts a magnifying glass on what is Eurasian and provides for a granularity that is more authentic, because we are not biracial. We transcend race. I hope that explains it.
Yeah, kind of. So, I studied mathematics, so I'm trying to see if I want to create a metaphor for this. The Serani is like a subset of the Eurasian race. Would that be right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we are now putting the spotlight on the Serani. So get that right, everybody. If you have got white and Asian blood, you're not necessarily a Serani, you're Eurasian. Okay. So you want to know whether you're Serani or not, you go talk to Vernon Adrian Emuang. Okay. He will tell you whether you're Serani or not.
That's a good idea.
Because he understands the complexities of this. I think you should go and write a book,
A lot of people have told me that.
So too.
I think anthropologists will really be happy to work with you. I think it's very important, right? Okay, now I'm going to ask you all these questions. What does being Serani in Malaysia today mean to you? Chef Melba, can you tell us what being Serani in Malaysia means to you today?
I think we are very special. I would say I'm special because, it's like I'm one of a kind. I'm mixed with Portuguese and the local people and all that. So yeah, I would think of it in that way. I'm very proud and blessed to be a Malaysian Eurasian here in Malaysia.
Okay, that's really great. And what about you, Nigel?
I think some people are going to be offended by what I'm going to say next.
Oh, go for it, Nigel. Come on.
I hope it's not me.
We are the original mutts, okay? We are the original pariahs. We have everything in us, and I take that and I claim it as the best part of who we are. We are diverse. We embrace everything. We are the original world citizens. And on top of that, we know how to have fun. So that to me is being Serani. Of course, the food too, as Auntie Melba can school us on cooking. That's Auntie Melba. But, to a large extent, I think our diversity is our greatest strength. I mean, look at us here and look at our faces. We're all Serani.
Yes.
Look at our faces.
Indeed. And Nigel, just to let you know, I told Sheila that she has every right to claim to be Serani because she has a grandmother who was Serani. So
she was Eurasian, not Serani.
Okay, she was Eurasian, but because you're in this part of the world, Southeast Asia, so then you can say you're Serani lah, because you are Eurasian from this part of the world.
Yes, and of course,
sorry, can I say something?
Sure.
Yes. I always thought the word Serani was Bahasa for Eurasian. I never knew there was a difference,
Yes, a lot of people.
Because when you go like to banks or to wherever and you register and they ask you, what are you? And you say you're Serani. So thinking that is a Bahasa word for Eurasian is how I explain myself, how I explain myself being Eurasian. So until now, it's like that for me.
You were
sorry, Sheila.
Yes.
I was just going to say, Serani, in my understanding, has always been a corruption of the word Nazarene.
Nasrani,
Nasrani. So, but there are other origin stories for the term, aren't there, Vernon?
Well, actually, Nazarani is what the Christians were referred to from like from the time of Christ. So like if you go to Indonesia, Christians of any ethnicity are referred to as Nazrani.
Followers of the Nazarene.
Yeah, followers of Jesus of Nazareth. But here in Malaysia, Malacca, Penang, Singapore, and probably from Phuket, what happened was the Nazaranis, who were the followers of Christ, started to form into their own community, and over time established an identity that was very unique. And in that process, the name, basically the identity label, basically truncated into its own form. You see, I mentioned Hakka. Hakka actually means guest, and it was an identity label given to the Hakka people who were nomads, okay? And over time, they actually embraced that identity label. From an exonym, which is an external name, it became an endonym. Okay.
All these words I'm learning, granularity and exonym.
I tell you, this Vernon, he needs to be given an honorary PhD in anthropology or something.
I know, right? Like,
he just knows too much. You know, Nigel, you were mentioning earlier, you were talking about me and Vernon. We were having a conversation before we started. And, you know, it's about me looking a bit Eurasian and all that. And yes, I've had that before. But what happened was, you know, this was back in the 1900s. Oh my God, back in the 1900s. Okay, so what happened is my great-grandmother came from Sri Lanka and she married a British, an Englishman here. And so they had this mixed breed children, you know. And they were treated very badly. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, a lot of people who might have this mix, they just sort of keep quiet about it because they were called half-breeds. You know, there's a word in Tamil for it. There's a word in Tamil for it. I can't quite remember it now, but it was very derogatory. And so when my grandmother, who was half white, married into an Indian community, married a Tamilian, Chettiar, she was not treated very well as well, you know. So a lot of people don't want to talk about it. And in my family, my grandmother never wanted to talk about it. And so for me now, I'm like, whatever, as you said earlier, and I'm proud of my Indian heritage, proud of, you know, my Sri Lankan heritage, my Sinhalese heritage, got to be the white here. And then my children, you know, their father was half Eurasian, also called Serani, you know. So I think whatever we have inside of us, it's about embracing it and being really proud of it.
Absolutely right.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Preach it, sister.
I am there, brother.
Yes.
Because I think it's so sad when people want to hide any parts of their heritage. You know?
Or even want to demarcate the differences.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how Serani are you? Heck, I say, how Serani am I is up to me to decide. You know, it's my rights. It's my human right to identify as whatever I want. You know, and you have to accept it and ask me why if you don't understand. Then maybe you might come to a better understanding of who I am as a person, you know?
That brings me to my next question, right? How Serani do you have to be considered part of the community? So if a Serani marries an ethnic Chinese or Indian, and then their children marry non-Serani, and then marry some non-Serani, so like 3-4 generations, are they still considered Serani? Or I want to be Serani, I'll be Serani. If I don't want to be, I don't want to be.
Okay, if I may, I'd like to quickly share a story. My grandmother was of Thai Chinese ancestry, but she was adopted by a Serani family. Okay. Eventually, because she lived with the family and picked up all their cultural lifestyles and practices, and became in fact the guardian and the bastion of Serani traditions. You know, can you say that she's not Serani?
No. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. Even though she genetically was not, but in her mind and in her head, she was as Serani as anybody. And it's because of her that made me decide this is the route I want to take, in a sense that Serani means a transcendence of race, you know? Yeah, I think I had said enough. Melba and Nigel.
I was married to an Indian, as you all know, and so all my children, well, legally, they're all Indians, right? Because they follow their father. But because of how they've been brought up by me, mostly my life.
The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
They're more Eurasian than they are Indian, you know. But
there you go.
So what? You know, whether they're Indians, they classify themselves as Indians, or Eurasian, it doesn't matter. I think it's how they feel about everything, about
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
want to be as
I
what you
agree.
say. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, my case is similar to Ali's in that sense.
Yeah.
My mom was Chinese, and basically, the way we ate and all that was more Chinese than it was Serani. Having said that, mom always explored food. She loved food. That's where I got my love of food and cakes and all that from. And she learned how to make Serani dishes. So during festive seasons like Easter and Christmas, we always used to have Serani food, you know, curry
Wonderful.
devil, feng, that sort of thing. So in many ways, I think the Serani community is can be very accepting, but like any other community, can also be very tribal.
Mm. I heard all of that, Nigel, but the part that interested me was the food at Christmas, the Serani food. If
Yeah.
no MCO this year got open house, I can come, huh?
Can, come.
Don't forget, no, don't forget. Keep that name on your list, okay? Okay, so moving on, right? The Serani today have evolved into a distinct community with its own cuisine, its own traditions that are so rich and so meaningful and so fun also, right? And they're very mindful about keeping their traditions alive. Like at Christmas, you will see a plethora of Serani dishes and all the traditions that go with it. So being a melting pot of traditions themselves, I mean, I know people asking, why do you need to keep your traditions alive? You're already a melting pot. So I need you to say it, people of the community, to say, why is it so important to keep those traditions going strong?
Well, it's important because we are unique in that sense. We are Eurasian, so we have to have what we were brought up with. I mean, like the food we eat, the traditions and everything. We have to carry on with that, isn't it?
Mm.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
Speaking to something that we had spoken about earlier, identity, right? For me, identity, a sense of identity, is what we choose to remember. And so we affirm and assert our identity by reliving things from our past. Food is such an important identity marker. And what Melba has done with Kristang cooking, and Kristang is a subset of Serani, at least I feel, that's how I feel. Kristang, with her Kristang heritage cuisine, she is keeping the Kristang Serani Eurasian flag flying high. And I think that is so important because then people realize how diverse, interesting the world is because of all these different kinds of experiences to share, and to grow stronger by. Yeah.
Anything to add, Nigel? Yeah.
For me, I think I'm a bit of an amateur student of history, I suppose. And I think our forefathers have a lot to teach us. So knowing our history, knowing our culture is in a way not just keeping it alive, but making it relevant to the current day and to the future generations. It also keeps that sort of family connection alive. So the identity is important, but the cultural practices, I mean, they evolve over time, but at the end of the day also they do have markers in our lives which actually serve to inform us of where we came from, who we are, and where we're going.
And ground us. I think the grounding is so important because in my conversations that I've had with people, and the number of people have come to me and said, thank you for reviving this Serani thing, because now I really understand myself. And I find this coming from the diaspora of our Serani Eurasian Kristang people overseas, because suddenly they realize there is an identity that is so theirs alone, because when we say Eurasian, people assume we are biracial, but we're not, so that's the reason why I feel, anyway, enough of me.
Yeah, no, it's true, because it's like centuries of tradition. It's a tradition that's been crystallized over 500 years, starting from 500 years ago to now. So I think, and they always say, right, if you want to know who you are, you need to know who you were. Right?
Yes.
You need to know where you came from to know who you are. And yes, we've got rich cultural diversity in Malaysia and all that. And while we are going for integration, I think, well, that's a hope anyway, that I hope one day we'll be able to realize. But as we're aspiring for that, many of us anyway, I do think that it's also important that we keep, you know, we keep alive the traditions of the various communities and ethnic communities, because that's so rich. I mean, that's something that a lot of countries don't have.
We are the tapestry that make this country.
Yes.
I mean, for instance, Melba, could you perhaps maybe tell us laksa? You know, what kind of ingredients, and you know, it's beautiful. It's yeah.
Why laksa? But then is it because you like that?
Because
I did think that laksa would be the obvious choice of dish to personify the Serani community.
Curry dapple or something like that. You know, okay, let's pick a difficult one. Laksa is a difficult one because the others are so obvious. And then I remember a few weeks ago, there was this whole big argument where everyone claiming their laksa is like this and all that. So let's talk about the Serani laksa.
What I was going to say was, because laksa, everybody's claiming, right? So what would Melba do to laksa to make it Serani or to make it Kristang?
Okay,
what would you do?
My grandmother was a Serani, Eurasian, I'm like a Portuguese Kristang lady.
Nunis is pretty much a Malacca, one of the most famous Portuguese Eurasian names in Malacca.
Yes, so anyway, my grandma used to cook it that way. My mother used to cook it that way. So therefore, I cook it that way, and that is my kind of laksa. So if any other people, any other Eurasian or any other persons out there think that they have their kind of laksa, it's okay. It's a different kind of laksa. But mine would be more influence of the Nyonya ingredients, the Malay ingredients, for instance, like serai and candle nuts and galangal. You know, so yeah, so that's what it is.
So if I ate a Nyonya laksa and I ate your laksa, what would be a discernible difference?
I think, you see, again, Sheila, you see, again, it goes back to someone coming to my restaurant or to me and saying, "Ayo, how come your laksa or your curry devil doesn't taste the same way my grandmother used to cook or my mom cooks?" Well, it's a different recipe. It's a different person cooking it. So I guess, you know, it's not wrong. The dish is not wrong. It's just different. And people have to learn to accept that, not say that it is wrong.
Yeah,
diversity.
Absolutely.
Oh, Melba's laksa is wrong.
Beautiful.
I agree with you. I also have my own version of laksa, Sheila's laksa, you know, and nobody has eaten it anywhere, but they all like it, so I can't be doing too wrong.
Okay, I'm coming to your house, you cook.
Okay, we exchange, right? I come eat the Kristang food at Christmas, you come eat my laksa. Okay, done deal, man. Done deal. Okay, so aside from the laksa, what are the other distinctive aspects of culture, qualities that set apart the Serani from other Eurasians as such?
I think the Catholic Church tradition is a very important part of Seranidom. Yeah.
Seranidom.
Yeah,
like Seranidom. So let's coin a new word now, Seranidom. You're all part of the Seranidom.
Goes well with papadom.
I like. Yeah. So if you got a bit of Serani and a bit of Indian, you got Seranidom and papadom in you. Okay, so the thing that one of the things about Seranidom is the Catholic faith. Okay, and what else?
Music, dancing, drinking, gambling.
Family, yeah. Family is very important. Yeah, multi-generational family gatherings.
Family. Very much family in the Catholic Church.
Correct.
I think also how we celebrate our festive, for example, food, of course, is a big part, but what you do around, like, for example, Easter used to be bigger than Christmas in Yeah, in my
Oh, wow.
family.
Mhm.
Well, in my grandfather's family in my dad's time. My time
Many
already.
Eurasians, I think, also. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And basically, what we used to do was go for Easter or Christmas, go for Christmas especially, you go for midnight mass, then you come back, then you have a little glass of sherry and you eat ham with acha and feng.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
this
one I
is,
never did, lah. Ham with
and then
acha
and feng, and then you'd have like this spread out, and then you eat and drink until about 2 a.m. You go back and wake up and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, actually,
Oh my
the
God.
Christmas dinner table or any Serani banquet, Eurasian Kristang Serani dinner table, as Melba will attest, is an amazing potpourri of flavors and culinary stuff, right?
Definitely,
From-
definitely.
Yeah, from Chinese to Indian to typical Serani. Oh my gosh, yeah, you name it.
Definitely no fish, Vernon. And
Okay, so tell me, what would be a typical Serani feast at Easter or Christmas? What would be on the table?
for Christmas, it will be more for my family at least. It was always the chicken macaroni pie. My mom used to make that. Then of course the curry devil is always a must. Then there's the beef curry sepu, we call it. It's a dry beef curry. Pork sebak with ears. Nigel is
God,
yeah.
I love
Yes,
pork
I know
sebab.
you
Yeah,
like
I just so love it. Can you
Yeah.
make it next time I come, Chef, please?
Yeah. And then we
Auntie Melba, you use pig's ears,
yeah, not yours, Nigel, not sure.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
That's so naughty.
No, serious, but seriously, we use pig's ears, not my ears, like my ears are still tissue. But
Yes, yeah. Some people love pig's ears, some don't.
oh, I love it.
Yeah, so it's actually the individual's preference.
Yeah,
Because
texture thing, lah. Texture
Here it's a
thing.
little bit crunchy.
Crunchy.
Yeah, it's very nice. And with the chili sauce and all that, it's really something to go for.
And see,
Yeah.
sebak is a good case in point, Auntie Melba. Sebak is such a good case in point. Your sebak and my grandfather's sebak, totally different. It has it has the siu yolk, it has the lettuce, the cucumber, the onions, and all that. But my grandfather puts hako in his.
See, so it's
Which is
different. I can't say
very-
Nigel, your grandfather is Seba is all wrong. I can't say that.
Yeah. So I mean, even within families, there
Yeah.
are variations in the
Correct.
recipes.
Yeah.
And I think with Serani families, the variations are even more marked because usually the marriages are very mixed, and so therefore it brings along all its syncretic kind of like influences, the mix and the matching and stuff like that. And so that's why even devil curry is very different from household to household because of what the cooks would bring from their own different influences. So I think that's where the beauty, of Eurasian Serani Kristang traditions and lifestyles are, Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I see. So within the community, within the cuisine itself, there's such a rich diversity.
Mhm.
Right? Nigel, I have to ask you this question. So where in all of this did the cakes and desserts come from, lah?
Ayo, my mother she loved baking. So mom to make a couple of extra bucks when I was a really young, a long time ago. She used to give cooking classes, and part of it was the cakes. Sometimes she would make hor yip fan. Do you know lotus leaf rice?
Oh,
Yes,
yum.
Big lotus, and then she bunkus it into this bunkus about this big and steam it. And she would teach these things to expat wives. So that's where I got my love of cooking and baking from. I had a sweet tooth, and I don't know, baking has always been more precise. And I'm not that precise a person, so I'm not quite sure why I pursue baking rather than cooking, because honestly, I prefer the former
I
rather
can
than...
psych you and say maybe there was a longing for order and precision in your life. Okay, but you were saying?
Yeah, exactly, right. But yeah, precision and specificity is very important in baking. But yeah, so that's where the baking came from. It was from my mom generally. Yeah. My grandmother was half Ceylonese and half Penang Nyonya on my dad's side.
Hey,
My-
bro. Got
Hey,
like
bro.
Serani's connection there, man.
God, my great grandfather was from Gaul.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So that's interesting, lah. So now you can bring the cakes and all that to the Skelchy Serani tradition, kan?
Yeah, but you know what? Seranis have amazing
Yeah.
cakes.
Yeah.
Talk about the suji cake, the suji fruit cake. All this is actually by way of Portuguese traders from Ceylon, Goa, Bluda.
Yep.
Bluda. I love Bluda. But that
What's
is
Bluda? I know about the suji cake. By the way, nobody makes suji cake like Serani. Just saying. And you were
Wow.
saying, what about Bluda?
Bluda. Bluda is basically a very rich yeast cake with a lot of egg yolks and a lot of butter. And it's risen, but with palm wine, toddy.
That's
Okay.
So rather than yeast is a more recent innovation. Bluda used to use palm wine, and it gives it the most amazing floral, tangy flavor.
it does.
Wow.
You know, I'm going to go back and listen to this whole conversation. I'm just going to make notes about all the food that you're mentioning, right? And then I'm going to come and ka-chow you all. Okay, chef, I want this, I want that. Okay, you can grab food to me now. Good, can I? So we're going to do that.
Oh, and it's baked in a bundt pan.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and by the way, I'd like to give a plug for Melba's book that people should look out for.
Oh,
You wanna do you happen to have it in front of you, Melba?
Do you have it with you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful homage to her heritage as beautiful. Yeah.
I have looked through it, but you know, just a question. I did look through it. Oh, great.
And
Okay,
see,
so you're all out there. This is the book that you need to get. And if you
Alright.
don't know where to get it, just get in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with Chef Melba.
it says
So
my
now,
Christian-
is it easy for non-Seranis to follow your recipes or not?
if they are local people, I think yes, because the ingredients are easily available here. You know, like when I went to Napa Valley, I had a problem there with the ingredients because it's so different from ours. And like the chilies came out super duper hot, you know. But you know, I mean, it's easier here because of the
Common ingredients. By the way, I have to mention here that my first introduction to the most divine thing I've eaten, one of the most divine things, bacon bone curry, was at Chef Melba's house. And then, you know, so I'll tell you a funny story. I have a friend, her name is Nicole Rodriguez, she's Serani. And then I went to your house and I had dinner. Then I came and I was waxing lyrical about this. And this Nicole, I've known her for 10 years. She was, oh, you like her? Why never tell me I would have made for you? No, I shouldn't. I said, bloody woman, 10 years I've known you. You never made me bacon bone curry. She said, I didn't know you like. I said, how am I to know whether I like it or when I've never eaten it? I didn't know it existed. You're supposed to introduce me to all of this. So then she made it for me.
Oh, good, Sheila.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, actually, it's really interesting how you can actually put down to the Eurasian Serani Kristang families and cooks to have combined, right, canned and processed ingredients with organic natural ingredients. So like, for instance, this bacon bones, right? Bacon bones curry, right? Then there's also Spam stew.
Correct.
Wow.
Luncheon meat stew,
Luncheon,
right?
yeah.
Corned beef sandwiches, sardine curry.
Yes.
And the one I can make. That one, my sardine curry, quite nice. I don't know if you know my friend Joycelyn Lee. Anytime I make sardine curry, she comes running. So
Well, yeah, that's your DNA, Serani DNA peeking through.
There you go.
Oh, the Sri Lankan one. Oh, no, they never ate sardines. Yeah, probably. That one I learned from my mother. Yeah.
And it's probably maybe even the British soldiers who arrived here teaching their wives how to use their sundries. You know, their local wives how to cook with their sundries.
The chop ayam, canned sardines, and then some Indian auntie said, "I'll put curry powder inside and make the curry and see how it is."
Absolutely.
No, like our chicken stew. Our chicken stew has cloves and cinnamon in it, but it also has spam and bacon. So cabbage,
Aiyo,
carrots.
now I'm
potatoes,
just getting so damn hungry. Okay. Okay. So
and
we're
then
gonna.
eat with sambal belacan and hot rice.
I know, right?
Now you have my book, so go through it and then
I
see.
don't have your book.
Terrible.
Yeah. I don't know because you
Well.
remember that day I wanted to get it when I came to your house.
Yeah,
Then I ate like so full and I went and passed out on your couch in a stupor like a bloody python. And after that, I just toddled along home. Was all I could do to get myself into my car and drive home. And I crashed out at home.
Anyway,
But I will.
I want to say something about myself and my book. Why I'm doing this is because I call myself old-fashioned for where the food is concerned, because I'm trying to actually keep the flavors and everything that I remember from the time I was a little girl eating all this. I don't want to change that, you know. I just pray and hope I don't lose my taste buds. So, Nigel.
No lah.
Oh, it's
Cannot lah.
beautiful.
You won. Every day I will pray that you do not lose your taste buds. Okay?
That is what is important, you know, the fact that I remember the taste exactly. Then that makes it authentic, and I call it old-fashioned. I refuse to change. I refuse to change and add this, add that, put this sauce, that modern things and all. I refuse to do that because I want to carry on exactly what I remember from young.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic. There's a place for integration, there's a place for fusion, there's a place to experiment, but there is also a place to keep the traditions, the flavors, the culture, and everything going.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to wrap this all up, you see, if you look at some distinctive minority groups such as the Peranakans and the Chiti community, even if you look at the Parsis of India, they are kind of like struggling for survival. You guys all look hale and hearty and going there, right? But in the long term, for the Serani community to like keep itself going strong and proud and all that, how can more be done, or what should be done, or what should the community or people outside the community be doing, if anything? Vernon, start with you lah.
Okay, well, you know, I think it's important for people like Melba to be celebrated because she is in effect documenting and archiving, you know, traditional practices. And likewise, we should be celebrating and acknowledging other people within other traditions doing that, because it is so important. It is like you know, like the Kristang language, for instance, it's dying out because less and less people are speaking it. But then there's a movement to try and preserve it. And in speaking to that, there is this proverb, I can't remember who said it, but when a language dies, a library burns down. So likewise, when a traditional practice disappears, you know, we lose the stories connected to it, you know, of how people lived and what they did and the meaning and the purpose of those practices, because they actually define who we are and carry on telling stories about us as mankind, as communities, as families, you know? Yeah.
I totally agree with that. What about you, Nigel?
Words matter. And it's true that the Kristang language, unfortunately, is diminishing. But I think, as with any community, we are not static. And I think if we can, to be honest, we are mostly typical, but there are some amongst the community who are perhaps worried that the evolution of the Serani community will lead to a dilution of it, when in actual fact, I think it's the other way around. The evolution actually embraces and brings in more people to the Serani community. So I think to a large extent, we need to embrace that diversity and embrace the fact that we are evolving. We are evolving to suit the moment. We are the people of the moment at the end of the day. We are not the people who lived 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you know? So that's where I come from.
Lovely.
Thank you. Lovely. Yeah. And Chef, what about you? You, I think, should be designated a national treasure, but that's another story for another day.
Like Dame Judi Dench.
Let's start. Let's start that movement, you know. Chef, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I think that the Eurasians, the Seranis, have to be in support of one another, you know. They should be happy to see others other Eurasians doing something, because there's none. Really, there's none besides my restaurant back in the Simply Mel's days. Other than that, I think there's only one so far now, and a few maybe here and there in Malacca. But yeah, so if we are not in support of one another and happy with one another and with what we are trying to do, then how to succeed, in this area? Yeah. But as for me, I'm going on until I cannot anymore. And thank you, Vernon, for all your kind words about my food and my
Oh,
cooking.
you're deserving of all our support.
All well deserved. All well
Absolutely.
deserved. Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely.
Amen.
Okay. So yeah, that's what I feel.
Well, thank you very much, Nigel, Vernon Adrian Emuang, and Chef Melba Victor. I'll say his full name, for joining me today. It's been such an enlightening session, such a fun session, and really.
And the next time we meet, it'll be around the dining table, right?
Oh, definitely.
And Melba's or Nigel.
I will add to the diversity of your guests at the dining table and come and eat anything you put in front of me.
I'll bring the bluder.
You bring. So I am so fascinated, and all those dishes you all have talked about and all that. I must go make notes and all. And the book, okay? I'm going to get that Fong Lailin to get the book from you, Chef, and then, pass it. She's around there listening, I'm sure. But thank you so much for, such an enlightening, entertaining discourse this Friday evening, for taking the time to join me, and let's eat together soon.
Yes.
With a glass of wine.
One glass only, Nigel. Hello, Nigel. A glass.
Okay,
what
a few.
Serani are you, man?
A few. A very bad one.
All right. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me,
And
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you, Chef. And
Bye-bye.
to our audience who's joined us today, we hope that you've had a really entertaining evening. Thank you for joining me, Sheila Singham, on the Sheila Exchange, speaking about the Serani story today. And see you all next week.
See ya.